Hey everyone, welcome to a new series of Wyck. What you could know. I wanted to do some interviews. I'm working on it, but it takes a little more time than I expected to take. So I decided to start another series, and this time about probably a more tangible subject for you guys. Although I'm getting into some of the deeper meanings behind the tangibility of these things. So this series is about food. Apparently, this is becoming a hot issue in this reality, and I thought I decided to talk about that because there are a lot of mishaps when it comes to food intake, what you really need, and what is an appropriate diet. Hint: an appropriate diet is the one that fits with you, as we are all different and we decided to be all different. It requires us to have a different food intake. There's one thing that is important though, and I wanted to talk to you guys about that first, and that's water, because water is probably most important intake that you need. Now, there are a lot of mistakes when it comes to um, how to and how much water to take in. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through this. One is the number of, well, I live in Europe, so we go with liters. You are supposed to consume every day. Well, I think the greatest mistake is that that should be generalized for everybody. You know, you hear people say, well, you got to have at least 2 liters a day. That's about half a gallon. And some people, no, you definitely need 4. That's a gallon. Well, there is no formula for it. It's just that um, there are many things that actually adjust um, your required water intake. One is, of course, your build. Are you big? Are you small? Um, I don't recommend small people drinking a gallon of water every day. It's just too much. You're going to flood your kidneys, and it's just going to give you an array of problems. So figure out what your deal is. I would say if you're not drinking water at the moment or not enough, I would go with half a gallon tops. There are some things you need to take into account, and that is what is actually drinking water. Well, I ask people a lot, so do you drink water? And then they go, yeah, I drink water. And then I go, okay, so when and how much? And then they go, well, I might take a coffee in the morning, and then I switch to tea at 10. And oh, I have some juice with lunch, and then some more coffee in the afternoon, and then when I get home I have a glass of wine. Okay, so none. The answer is you're drinking no water. Even more so, you talk about multiple cups of coffee. That means that you're dehydrating, because if you were to say you were to drink 1 cup of coffee, you need that same cup and a half of water to get to net zero, because coffee really dries you out. That's point number one on the list. Coffee is the most dehydrating drink there is. Then there's tea. Then there's high sugary things, including juice, because people always think, oh, I don't drink too much sugar, I drink juice. Well, juice is high in sugar as well, and because most of the juices are completely stripped of their fibers, you only get the sugary part and you don't get the good part that actually makes the sugar do the good things in your body. So drink water with pure water and go for a half a gallon a day. But if you drink a lot of coffee and if you drink sugary beverages or tea or milk is not good as well. You're gonna need some extra water. Okay, so how do I drink water? Well, you see these people walking around with bottles and taking a sip every 5 minutes. It looks like you're hydrating, but it's not the way to go. First of all, every time you take a sip of something, your body has to decide whether or what it is it has to deal with. So if you keep drinking a sip of water every 5 minutes, you start up your whole digestive system and they go, what is this? What are we supposed to do with this? Oh, right, it's just water. All right, so we can shut that off. So one thing is you're constantly putting your body on alert. So it's going to make you tired. The best thing is to have selected times of the day and then drink a good glass, or I would say probably best drink it a pint every time, and just finish the pint within 10 minutes. Even if you're just drinking water, just make sure that I'm drinking water now and I have 10 minutes of time, which should be enough for a pint. I know it's going to feel harsh in the beginning, and especially if you do this, you'll see that you have to go to the bathroom more often. Well, that is what you're basically rinsing yourself on the inside. So that's actually a good thing. Switching between doing something and drinking all day, that's not good. That's not good. So have your specific intakes. What I do, I filter my water. That's just because it doesn't really matter if you get your water from the tap or from bottled water. If you use a TDS meter, TDS stands for total dissolved solids. It'll show you how many parts per million dissolved solid items are in your water. It doesn't tell you what it is, so it could essentially be, also important minerals. But if you have to, if you're relying on your mineral intake on your water, you're not doing well. That's the other part I will get into later, and that is supplements. So what I do, I make sure that my water gets to 0. And then with, certain types of stones or other stuff of which I know the origin, I know whether they're good or not, I can decide to, increase the calcium a bit and that kind of stuff. So I start with 0 water. That's also the name of the filters that I use. I'm affiliate of 0 water, so don't hate me for it. This is kind of a commercial, but I like to start with 0. Then I know that there is nothing in there that is not supposed to be in there. And getting back to the mineral part, people say, well, you need certain minerals that are in the water. You need certain bacteria that are in the water. Then maybe so. But some of these, especially the minerals, they can actually attach to some really damaging stuff. And in addition, that actually makes it more dangerous, because then it then the chemical compound is more easily taken up into the body and distributed along your organs. So I start with 0 and I build it up myself, so I know exactly what I drink. Exactly. And I also use it for coffee. I use it for tea. I use it for my cooking water. I give it to the cats. I use a lot of essential oils, and I use them in a diffuser. The water that goes into the diffuser is filtered water, because, well, I don't want to be drinking it, so I don't want to be breathing it, right? Because that's pretty much the same thing. It'll come through my into my bloodstream through my lungs instead of my digestive system, but essentially it's the same thing. Okay, so if you are not sure whether the filtering system you're using is okay, you can ask me questions anytime. By the way, if you use reverse osmosis, that's the next best thing. I've tested some reverse osmosis devices in my life, and I don't use one type of meter. I have several brands, so I used mostly 3 or 4 different kinds of testers, so that I'm actually sure that what I'm reading is correct, or, approaching correct. So when I test reversed osmosis water, it comes around mostly around 7-8 parts per million total dissolved solid. So that's not a bad thing. So actually, the filters that I use, they get you to 0 total dissolved solids. So that means there's nothing in it. It tastes a little bit sour because the acidity is a little bit the value is a little bit low, which means it should be more alkaline. But you can do that with some gemstones easily. Just put it in a pitcher, and if you have water that is filtered to 0, you can easily put it in a pitcher. You don't have to close it off. You can put it on a table and drink it the next day. It's gonna be fine. It just tastes different. It's beautiful. So make sure that you filter according to your needs. Some people, they really don't like the taste of it, and even with the gemstones, they can't get it to a taste that I like. All right, so then 0 water is not for you. That's fine. So make sure that you drink filtered water. You make it custom to you and your family. Most of the times, the people you live with are in the same energy, so that'll work. And make sure that you drink at certain times. Don't be sipping all day, and do it with attention. If you don't like the taste of water, there are some essential oils you can use. Use a good brand, use a pure brand, so that you don't have any contaminations in your oils. And you can use citric oils or peppermint oil, anything that'll make you drink it. If that doesn't work, try drinking warm water. So a tea without actually putting the tea in. It sounds weird, but if you start by switching off 1 cup of coffee with hot water, because you drink it the same way, because it's hot, so you take your time and you're sipping, and then you should be ready within 10 minutes. I mean, a cup of coffee shouldn't take more than 10 minutes, as it is with the hot water. And if you get adjusted to that, you'll see that you automatically switch to to the hot water, and you reduce your coffee intake. So you kill two birds with one stone. So those are the tips on the 3D level I can give you. Now, I said drink it with attention. That is a different thing. I mean, you've seen a lot of, well, I don't want to be political about this, but there are some accidents happening at the moment uh, in some parts of the world where factories are burning or trains are derailing, and there are uh, chemical compounds in the air. And some of these chemical compounds, they attach to water molecules in the air, but also in nearby water. So in my first series, Understanding the Matrix, I talked a little about collective consciousness. Well, water has a consciousness as well. So when there are places in the world where the water is becoming contaminated, I always do extra tests on my water, because you'll see that even if you're far away, your water is also going to be affected, because we talk about different oceans, but it's all the same body of water, you know. All the water in the world is connected. So if uh, water somewhere is being misused, then the water where you're at is going to be affected. So I would call everybody to be extra friendly to your water, because it needs a lot of healing at the moment. That may sound weird, but it really works. I would advise you to check out Emoto. That's Emoto. That's a Japanese guy, and he did some experiments with water, and putting messages in water, and then showing, well, basically showing the beauty or the ugliness of it uh, by freezing it and looking at the water crystals. So if you were to speak positive words to the water, then the crystals would become beautiful. And if you would use bad words, then the crystals would become ugly, and also strangely colored, like brown and black. And there's all sorts of weird stuff going on. So look at that, and you'll understand why water reacts to the messages it receives, because it's actually a recorder. So that's what I mean when I say drink your water with attention. Don't go, oh, I have to drink this fucking water, because then you're already putting a label on the water, and that's what you take in. The same works with food, of course, because food, well, any type of food, is there are major masses of water being used to make your food. So in addition to this, if everybody filters their water correctly, you'll get more pure water intake. And even the water that goes back into the world through your urine is actually cleaner. So you're not doing it just for yourselves, you're doing it for the world. And that's exactly how this matrix works. If you make those minor changes that seem like minor changes, but if a lot of people do that, then there's actually a major shift coming on. And this works with water beautifully. So those are my messages for today about water. In the next episode, I'm going to talk a little bit about food and different diets, because I get a lot of questions about that. What is a good diet? Spoiler alert, there is no good diet. Like I said, adjust your water intake, adjust the type of water to who you are, and the same goes with your food. All right, I'll see you guys next time on the next episode of Wyck. This time about, consumption, basically. All right, bye.